Being a creator can be a very fulfilling moment in someone's life when they start to get the views, the attention, they get the comments, the recognition, and once something finally clicks, it feels very satisfying. But there is the opposite of that. There's the moments where we don't get the views, or we compare ourselves, or we create opportunities to make us feel like we're not enough as a creator. And as someone who has started this from the beginning, I didn't have a coach or a mentor, and I've seen it all. The 3, 4, 5 view videos, and then some approaching 500,000 views on my channel that are not vertical content, like horizontal style content. So I've experienced something this week, and I want to be able to share it with you because I just want to be fully transparent on emotions that I've had, feelings, because if I'm having them, somebody else has to have had them. And I've talked to people this weekend, or actually this week, not this weekend, that have had these emotions. So let's talk about it. Imposter Syndrome. For those of you wondering where I'm at, I'm actually in Memphis. I'm at the St. Jude Play Live Creator Summit right now. And this is my second year being here, and it is truly, truly one of the most amazing experiences that I've had, not only as a creator, but as someone who's trying to drive and make a difference using their platform. It's huge. And then as a parent, being here and being able to resonate with the message that we're talking about here by helping kids. That's literally the goal of St. Jude, is to help kids. It is a very emotional, and at times it can be a lot. And but in that same case, it's also very rewarding to see that all the efforts that we put in as creators for charity fundraising and things like that go towards such an awesome place. We got to tour the campus, we got to meet some patients, talk with some of the staff, actually be a part of the culture and to see what we're working for. And I love that. There are some positive things that are happening here in St. Jude, and I want to talk more about that in a moment, but I want to actually tackle what occurred earlier in this week, and I'm not going to share the tweet, but if you are curious and you want to search around, I'm sure you can find it. Someone who's here at this conference posted an X. They made a post on Twitter, on X, that they were feeling really bad imposter syndrome, and that they, like me, came last year for the first St. Jude Play Live Summit here in Memphis, and they basically stayed in bed all day. Because when they arrived, being a smaller creator themselves, when they arrived, they realized that there were, and when I'm serious by saying this, there are big names here, and like big streamers, big content creators, people who I have looked up to for a long time as a creator are here. And in some ways, I'm so terrified to go up to meet them, but they're here, and it is a huge experience. But they detailed out the point of them feeling imposter syndrome, where it was the, do I fit in? Why am I even here? Compared to these people, how can I be able to give impact? I've not raised as much money, I don't have as much viewership, I don't have as big of a platform, I don't have all of the things that these other creators obviously have, and in some cases are promoted and touted for being and having those things. And, this person, this creator, I'll pronoun her, she felt that way. And then being here, she said that this is her second time, she still feels it, and to be honest, there were hundreds of people this year compared to last year. It was only a couple hundred. There were like probably 400 or 500 at this summit. And then compared to all these other people, large TikTok creators, large YouTube creators, Instagram creators, from every walk of life, not just gaming, but just from everything. Just a lot of imposter syndrome, but that it was improving. And what I want to do is I want to tackle this in a couple of different ways. One, I want to talk about from a personal experience. And then two, I want to talk about what I see all the time from creators, just after doing a lot of these like channel reviews and working with creators for the last few years. I want to talk about some experiences that they've had and just kind of open this up, because I feel like an open dialogue is how you, as a person who might be struggling with this, is able to move past it. Now, I know those of you who are watching this is going to be kind of a long-winded video. This isn't kind of like a vidoc. I'm not going to show a bunch of B-roll on this. And honestly, it's probably just going to be a lot of me doing this A-cam talking to you right now. And I'm sitting in a very creaky chair. So you're going to have to deal with that. And there's also a rooftop band playing. So you're going to have to also deal with that. But let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about imposter syndrome, and let's talk about my specific case, and then we're going to talk about the cases of the other people that I've worked with. For me, imposter syndrome started pretty early on, and I was a creator. Those of you who don't understand the backstory or know the backstory of my channel, I'll just be, I'll tell as much as I can right here without being too long-winded. Before I was doing YouTube. Like now I'm a YouTube creator. I'm full-time doing YouTube and working with clients. Before I was that, I was a high school teacher. I did high school music, orchestra, and chorus for 10 years. I taught in a high school, and the last 7 was in the same school. And it was one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life, was to see kids come to me not knowing who I am and leave from me, and I'm still messaging them today with them asking about advice or telling me about their life and everything that's occurring. It's a really heartwarming thing. But out of all of that, my goal was to better those kids from the time that they found me to the time that they left. And that usually was obviously through education and music and making connections, but honestly, it was just about building relationships. And I think a lot of what was happening in schools at the time was focusing on hard numbers, statistics, growth. This is what needs to occur, the accolades. And as an educator in that building, I was one of a few teachers, and this isn't to down the other teachers in the building, but I was one of the few teachers that really took the time to back up and invest and see no walls in someone's character and be able to make some kind of a relationship and connection, sometimes with students that were passed over by other teachers and deemed as, wouldn't be successful or just got bad grades. And some of you watching this might resonate with that. And if that's the case, I want you to know that I love you and you are fantastic and you're able to do whatever it is you are able to do and what you want to be. So about 20, I think it was 17 or 18, maybe it was 2019. I can't remember the years now. I'm getting so old now. I'm literally a 33-year-old bald man. I started an esports team specifically to target kids who were not connecting. It came up as a conversation. I had a couple of kids help me plan it and create it, and in about a month's time, I had signed 60-something kids to an esports program, which was 10% of the school. 44 eventually became part of the final team. We went 6 weeks. We're winning, going great. They canceled it. When I say they canceled it, I mean the district office said, well, we're not just going to allow you to play video games. This is not what we expected. You're done. And so they pulled the rug on the dreams of these kids. And yes, I live in a very conservative area. And they pulled these dreams on these kids. Some of them actually went on to get scholarships, a couple years after this happened, but yanked that from them. And from that, my channel started. And it was kind of this moment where I was making a connection with kids, and I wanted to be able to show them that if some 30-year-old bald man, 28, probably 29 at the time, could make content and be successful in this industry, they could too. And so I did. I started making Destiny 2 content on this channel, which is why it's called Darkened Cyrus. It's not called Brandon Leonard, which is my name, because this channel started as a gaming channel. My whole brand started as a Destiny 2 content channel. And while that was a wonderful experience to be a gaming channel, we pivoted to starting doing educational content, which is what led us to here where we are today, etc. But during that process, there was a lot of things that occurred from the imposter syndrome part. For example, being a Destiny creator amongst some of the largest creators that were out there. And I was releasing content that was, and at the time, I didn't know anything better than to copy the greats. And not copy as in rip, but to emulate the things that they were doing, but to also create my own spin on those things. And so, to copy the greats and to create content and do that stuff, that was awesome. I had one video that went to 8,000 views, and being someone who was producing content, editing it very similarly, and seeing them get thousands of views compared to me getting 5, 10, 15 views, sometimes maybe 100 or 200, and then one that got 8,000, there was a lot of negativity, but also a lot of excitement that I was making the content and I was excited for what I was getting. But I think when you start trying to figure out what does that show you further down the line, are you successful at what you're doing? I think that's where you start to look at those numbers, and it's in all of us. We're going to compare. We're very competitive people. It's just what we do. It's what we are, and somehow that's actually led to a lot of the growth and technology, infrastructure, everything is growth by competition in a lot of ways. And that didn't change when I pivoted my content to doing educational style reviews, products, tutorials, all of that. It more almost exacerbated it, because now I went from me looking at creators like, in that space, Dado or Mtashed or Professor Broman or Gathalion, to looking at creators in the education niche, which is people who I still interact with today, like Gail Level or Nutty, Harris, Eposvox, these larger creators that, gaming careers. There's so many Stream Scheme that are larger creators than me, and I make content that I feel, in my current level of ability, is on par, but maybe not that same style, because I'm not any of those people, and I'm one person. Some of those people have a team behind them. And so when it came to trying to figure out where I fit in that space, it was honestly a little bit more daunting, because instead of trying to make people have good reactions to gaming music, or gaming videos rather, I was trying to win people's loyalty and approval or authenticity through product reviews and showing education, which I could be able to be authentic. That was what I did in being an educator. But people who you can't meet face to face, and you only see the glimpse of maybe 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes of a video, that was really hard. So fast forward to today. I am at St. Jude Play Live the second time. I want to talk to you about my first experience, then I want to talk about the second experience, and I kind of just want to be upfront about it, and also I guess I should probably preface it before we do anything. You have no idea how grateful I am, first to be invited the first time, but then to be coming back for the second time. Breathtaking. And as someone, when I came the first time, I personally had raised a lot of money, but it hadn't been tracked inside Tiltify. We do a team campaign, because we treat our Tiltify stuff as a team. And so we have a team called The Darkness. It's our Discord community. You can go join it. It's discord.gg/thedarkness. And you can come be a part of any charity events that we do. And we had done up to that point 3 Share the Love events, which, if you don't know anything about, it's our yearly event that we do the weekend before Valentine's Day, where we take 24 streamers that are smaller creators, we bunch them together into a raid-a-thon, and all have the same common goal of raising money for St. Jude. And it's a great opportunity for exposure for them. We can partner with brands. It's just a really good mix of making things occur, not only for them, but we're raising money for a great cause, which is St. Jude. The part that got interesting is when I got here, there was a Tiltify kind of TV where you could punch in your name and you could see how much money you had raised. And as wonderful as this is, and we've done this multiple times, TwitchCons, at these events, we've seen this number, and it has been amazing. Every time seeing it grow. The first time we were here, we raised just about, I think it was like a little over $5,000 as a team. But the team campaign button wasn't working, so I couldn't type in The Darkness to show that 5K to take the picture of when I was here. And so it typed up and pulled up my original name, which I only had like one campaign on, and it was for like $400. And so right before me, you had creators like Smashly, Lupo, other people popping up like millions, 100Ks, 80Ks that they had raised. And then my $400 and something one popped up. And that felt really defeating. And even though people cheered and were just so happy, because the truth is, and we'll talk about this in a moment, it doesn't matter how much money you raise for charity, you need to think lump total goal instead of your own individual goal of, look, every dollar is another improvement to what the dollar that they didn't have before. And after being here on campus, it's very clear that you not meeting your goal, or you only having a $10 goal for your charity or a $100 goal, and meeting it or not meeting it is admirable in itself. The fact of doing charity work is amazing, and raising awareness. That's just like people who watch those streams but don't donate are just as important as those who do donate and watch your streams. That exposure of promoting that, that charity and the platform is huge. It was a really daunting experience. And last year I met up with some really cool people. I met them, we had conversation. We never even mentioned like viewers or followers or anything like that. I met a couple of really good, awesome people, and I'll mention them. I've actually hung up with them this time, which was Hollywood Bud and Doug Vaney. And I wasn't like hugely conversational because like I just felt like I wasn't fitting in. These were people who had been here years and multiple years, and I just honestly wanted to listen and just soak up and just kind of take that in. And so listening to these creators who have been doing this for so much longer than I have, and at that time I wasn't full-time and I was working marketing at a real estate company, it was just a really humbling experience. But as far as imposter syndrome, that moment of comparison and feeling like you don't fit in and you don't connect, I think is kind of where I was at. And so I haven't really defined imposter syndrome up to this point, but I'm going to do it right now. Imposter syndrome is where you as a person, when comparing yourself in the space that you currently are, it could be sports, it could be creative, it could be in whatever field you want to be able to apply it to. When you see yourself trying to compare yourself to others and finding that you just aren't the original or fitting in, you are the imposter in the situation, and you feel like your appearance or your attendance to specific things or your activity on certain apps is just regurgitation or not needed. So a lot of those things become difficult. And as far as what's happened here, this is second time, and I have felt really good about this experience. I was able to actually take a picture. We had raised just about almost $12,000 as our community, which is amazing. I can't even understate the fact of how amazing that is. But in that same case, there were people popping up 900,000s and 1 millions and 3 millions and things like that. But I didn't feel that as much this time. And recognizing that my community is my community and is accomplishing what we accomplish. And I am so glad and so thankful and so grateful for the people who, over the last 5 years of me doing content, have just surrounded me. It has been an amazing experience. But when it comes to, how I've felt this time, it's been a very similar piece. I was actually on the bus today, on the way to an event that we were going to. But I was having a conversation with a creator, and followers, nothing was ever mentioned. But we talked about how the streams were going, our communities, how things were going. And it wasn't hinted that he was, a larger creator or anything, or that I was a larger or a smaller creator. But at the end of the conversation, I was like, hey, what's your handle? I'd love to be able to follow you. So he told me, and I pulled him up, and he's like 400K on Twitch, 400K on YouTube, like hundreds of thousands on X, things like that. And, his wife is also extremely successful as a streamer. And same kind of situation. And I was like, I just sat with this person and had a huge conversation with them, and that number didn't matter. That shouldn't have mattered. So why did I feel weird? Why did I feel different after looking that up compared to when I was just having a casual conversation with them? And it just felt different. And not that it was a bad thing. It also just created this moment where I was like, oh, I should have treated that maybe in a little bit different of a sense, I guess. But that's my current situation. And so as far as feeling like you might not be enough or you might not fit in, even I'm struggling with that. Even being at a conference that I was invited to for the things that I've done, and it has been an amazing experience. Let me just say this, because somebody's going to watch this and think, oh, I'm never going to do this because I'm going to feel that. That is totally false. You as a person, doing St. Jude has been some of the biggest accomplishments as a creator as I can say. I've hit 3.5 million organic views. I've hit 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's all great and fine, but in my opinion, almost $12,000 raised for St. Jude just feels like a much larger accomplishment that my community has done with all the streamers who've participated, my group of people. That has been amazing. That has felt extremely rewarding. And one of those things that when it comes to doing charity work, please don't ever do that and compare yourself based upon how much you raise compared to somebody else. Your contribution, whether it even be monetary or just viewership, is so huge. And so I just want to make sure I state that fact. So I want to pivot onto the second part of that, which is what I've noticed with other content creators. I have been doing, and if you haven't paid attention on this channel for the last 2 months, I've been doing channel reviews, and which is basically where I go live on my main YouTube channel, this channel, and people can drop in and basically just say, hey, look at my channel. And not saying I have all the answers, but sometimes you don't have that friend. You don't have someone who can be, completely unbiased to your content and give you suggestions or thoughts about what they think about it without having some bias. And in my case, I'm having people come in and drop it, and I can be honest. Because, most of the time you and I aren't like close friends. I'm not worried about necessarily damaging the relationship. But in that same case, you're giving me permission to take a look at your channel and to do this. And so it has been probably some 300, 400 channels we've taken a look at now. And every one of them is just a new experience to find someone new. And I have found some really awesome creators who are hidden gems and honestly should be 100 to 200 times their size. And they'll be there. One day they will be there. But a lot of people who come in say the same thing of, well, why am I not growing? And there's been conversations that have been had of, when I post a video, somebody else can post a similar one, and why is it not working for me? Well, I don't have the answer to solve that because I'm not the YouTube algorithm. I'm trying to figure this road out just as much as you are. What I can say is a lot of people still feel like when they post that video and they get a 10 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 instead of a 1 out of 10. If you don't know what that means, that's the ranking that YouTube gives it based upon your 10 previous videos, how it's performing in that timeline that's posted. When they don't see that the views get what they expect, there's this defeat that washes over them. And I have it all of the time. I've actually worked with a client in the past, and I'm not going to go too public about this because the relationship was kind of weird. But I had a client who kind of had that same expectation of they thought they invested so much time and then also investing money into an editor that when they posted that video, it didn't blow up. And instead of realizing that not every piece of content is going to do what you expect, or something just didn't click, the content wasn't rightly placed, it was a thumbnail title issue, any of those things, it just didn't click. And rather than seeing and recognizing that, they actually attacked me for that and told me that I was the problem. And to be honest, it's one of their most viewed videos on their channel today. And so I'm a little salty about the situation. But that's a perfect example of, I think that views as a creator is a metric that creates a lot of excitement. Feels like you're impassioned, but it also feels like it could be a defeating moment. That's like right now on my channel, I was averaging about like 7,000 views a day, 8,000 views a day, and I'm currently down to 4,000 views a day. And now that I'm at a point where I'm a little bit more mature in my content creator career and I've seen these ebbs and flows, I'm not as uncomfortable with where it is now, knowing where it will be and can be. And in that same case, I'm still learning. So I've also met with a couple of other creators that have specifically talked to me that are smaller channels. And when I say smaller, I mean, I'm not going to say size because I don't want to feel like I'm calling anyone out, but smaller channels that are posting consistently and in their opinion are posting really good content, even though we've optimized some things and made some adjustments. But it might just not be resonating. And sometimes even having that conversation of that, these are things that might be going wrong, or these are things that might be changing, might be hard to hear. A lot of people, and I would say 95% of the people we work with, are very receptive and want to change because they want to get better. But it's far too often that I do hear like, well, so-and-so can do what I'm doing, and so-and-so does the exact same content. Why isn't mine popping off? And that's imposter syndrome. So here's where I'm going to wrap all of this up into a nice little tiny, neat bow. As far as someone that might be going through this situation, and you're a smaller creator or you're a huge creator, let me just say that it doesn't matter where you are. This is probably something you're going to struggle with for a long time. And I think when you start to realize that your happiness does not need to be determined based upon the number of views or reach or money raised, and your happiness should be based upon the community and the efforts and the people around you, numbers are numbers, right? And instead of trying to compare numbers and do all of that, why don't you try to make friends and realize that those people are on their journey just as much as you are. And the people who might be above or below you in numbers that you're looking at and comparing yourself to could be on completely different journeys. They might be the person that's only created content for a year and are further than you, and you've been making content for 10 plus years and are where you are. Instead of comparing yourself to them, find that opportunity to think, well, what should I try to do something that's different on my channel? How do I pivot and attempt to do something that is positive? Find a way to enjoy your content as content and not as an analytical drive. I say all that knowing that I've struggled with this today. And maybe what I would like you to do is if you can, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching my video. But if you've made it this far in this video and you have struggled with this personally and you're a creator, or maybe it's in another field, I would love for us to comment down below maybe part of your story, maybe your whole story. Maybe you create a thread or something, or maybe you send me something on Twitter that I can repost of your story that you want to share, so we can all understand how that feels and where we come from. Because maybe if we destigmatize the idea that a follower number determines success rather than the impact that you have on those people, I think that would really matter. There's another part I want to add to this, and this is specifically about an emotion I had today, and I just want to put this right there at the very end. I had the opportunity to meet someone who I really looked up to today, and I chickened out multiple times, and I just want to be able to say to this person, who I'll name, I have no problem doing that. It's actually Professor Broman. Ben was here at St. Jude Play Live, and I had the opportunity to walk up. He was just openly available, and I'm sure he would have been very receptive to me coming up and just telling him how amazing his content is and how I'm enjoying his Helldiver stuff and enjoying what he was to me for Destiny, and how much of a great creator he was for there, and how much that fueled my love for Destiny as a game. I wish I just walked up to him today and just told him all of that, but I chickened out multiple times. So that's another thing that I'm sure I'll get another opportunity to do that. I'm going to TwitchCon, which I'm sure he'll be there, and maybe I'll do it then. It doesn't matter where you are in life. I think you're always going to have things that you struggle with. And even in my case, where I'm doing this full-time now, I've struggled with similar things that I struggled with when I was a very small creator. So I love you guys so much. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for entertaining my long rant. And definitely comment down below how you feel. And let's see if we can drop that stigma of feeling like you're an imposter syndrome, because you are important. You are unique and the only person who can do what you do in your current situation, your current moment. Nobody else can do it. So imposter syndrome be damned. Thanks, guys. Love you all. Y'all have a great day.